FPL in the Premier League. I'm Adam Zadroik, joined by BigManBakar. Big man, welcome in to our first Q&A show. We're going to go over a bunch of questions entering Game Week 10. Going to talk a lot of players here. BigManBakar, what's up?
Hey man, thanks for having me. It seems like quite a pivotal week in the context of the season. A lot of people are going very transfers heavy. The likes of Mateta and Bomo have seen a lot of traffic. The likes of João Pedro, uh, Jokeres even being sold en masse. So it feels as if it will be quite a pivotal week in terms of the swings that we're about to witness.
Yeah, if you're watching here on YouTube, we got a nice little cheat sheet up over at RotoWire. You can use YouTube15 as the code for 15% off. But this cheat sheet here, we got predicted lineups, eventually be confirmed, but we got all the 20 predicted lineups, 10 matches, and then we got the odds report here. Pretty easily, you can see win percentage, clean sheet percentage, implied goal totals, all that good stuff here, Bakar. But happy Halloween. Do you actually do you have Halloween? Where you are? Is that a thing for you?
A lot of my friends celebrate it.
Okay.
It depends on the kind of friends I have. A lot of my friends are very social, very outgoing, so they celebrate Halloween. So do I quite often.
Okay, I'm
But
wearing
it doesn't help when
skeleton kid over here.
doesn't help when it's Halloween night just before the FPL deadline, though.
Yeah, a little different here. Friday night Halloween. But yeah, if you have any questions for FPL, just throw them in the chat. Let's start off with just looking at the slate here before we get into some questions. Arsenal are the biggest favorite. Maybe let's just open with captain discussion because we have Haaland. He has the best odds to score, which he usually does by a decent margin. Home against Bournemouth is the best option here. He's going to be the most popular captain, Erling Haaland is. There's no question about that. I'm not going to ask directly for your team if you're going to captain him, but do you think it is the smart move here just to captain Haaland and not even think about it too much?
That's what I'm doing, and that's what I would recommend people to do as well. Yeah, this has to be, man. In this kind of form, it's very difficult to overlook him. He did blank against Villa, but he's just in another sort of planet right now. And a home fixture, pretty much easy pickings, I would say.
Easy pickings, guaranteed hat trick. Bakar has said it, guaranteed right here. Let's get into this first question here. We got this guy, João Pedro, who was up to above 60% of teams earlier in the season, and he just isn't really doing anything for Chelsea. Cole Palmer is still probably weeks away, maybe a month away, so it doesn't look like anything's going to change too much. Liam Delap is suspended for this game, but he is healthy again. So figures we may have seen the last of the João Pedro as the number 9 over at Chelsea. But does this even have any effect on his outlook going forward, what he's done in the past? What should we do with João Pedro? It's a little difficult here at Tottenham in Game Week 10. It gets there are some easier matchups coming up, but what is the future outlook here for what should people do with João Pedro?
I think he's a sell at this point because I do expect him to play against Spurs. I think he'll play as the 9, actually. And even the fixtures for Chelsea from Game Week 11 and 12 are nice. They're playing Burnley and Wolves, respectively. I just don't think that João Pedro is the sort of guy who's going to score a lot of explosive hauls this season. I know he started off well, scoring 35 points in the first 5 games, but a lot of that was down to overperformance. And in fact, Enzo Maresca did say very recently that he's not expecting João Pedro to be the kind of player who's going to score 20 goals a season. He just sees him as a very different kind of a striker in terms of his profile. So I think now that we have the likes of Mateta at a very similar price range available, I feel as if it's quite a no-brainer. Mateta's numbers are through the roof. He's just behind Haaland for expected goal involvement, and the fixtures for Palace are awesome. So João Pedro's Tutu Mateta is a move I think you should make this week. It's something I have done, and it's something I would recommend João Pedro owners to do as well.
João Pedro does not have a shot. Has not had a shot on target since August. And he is a forward that is still on a lot of teams. So that is, pretty good reason. Bakar is saying sell on João Pedro. We got a question here. Let's check it out. We got Mateta to Voldemade. He already has. So unlike pretty much everyone here who is going to Mateta, we're going to question if he should move Mateta to Voldemade or Mateta to Mark Gee, and then Reinders to Mbumo. So there we go. What do we think? Should he already has Mateta? Should he move off Mateta for Voldemade or someone else?
I think if you're in this position where you have Mateta and João Pedro both, it's actually quite a rare situation to be in. Not a lot of people have
Actually,
had
sorry
this
here.
sort of structure.
Do you think he says JP? Does that mean João Pedro? Or I
Yeah,
assumed it was JP
yeah.
Mateta, but maybe okay. It was a mistake on
Yeah.
my okay. I misread that. Sorry about that.
No worries. I think I would do João Pedro de Gio in this position, assuming that those funds that you release by doing JP de Gio can be spent in midfield. And I feel as if because you have Reinders, I feel as if Reinders is also a sell at this point because he's not exactly having any sort of an input in terms of his underlying data. His experiments have gone down. The likes of Turkey, Marmoush, etc., are back. So Reinders might lose his place eventually. And the fixtures, to be honest, aren't great either. So yeah, JP de Gio, Reinders to a better mid is something I would recommend.
Yeah, Reinders just basically since that game week 1, his numbers really haven't been there. Manchester City, of course, there's always upside with those guys, but it's been basically Haaland and no one else. I don't know if you have Phil Foden on your team, but I have Phil Foden on my team, and his numbers aren't looking any better than Reinders, if we're being honest. So yeah, you're going Pedro to Mark Gee, and then how we feel about Mark Gee with Liam Delap coming back from his injury? Is like what kind of minutes? He's just going to be a bench guy, right?
Yes, he's going to be a bench guy. The only reason which I like him is because he's 4.2. He's the cheapest available forward in the game. I feel as if Delap and Pedro will keep rotating as the 9s, and I think Enzo will play as the 10 more regularly going forward. I just don't see a world where it's used first choice.
I guess looking at the two, you mentioned the price with Mark Gee, 4.2. Krupi is 4.6, and we got word that Evan Nielsen is available again. Maybe that doesn't mean Evan Nielsen's going to start right away because Krupi has been good. It is, it's not the same price. Mark Gee is a little cheaper, but do you have a preference of Krupi or Mark Gee there for a value, just a super cheap forward?
I would still go with Gio because I expect Krupi to lose his place with Evan Nielsen in the team.
Okay. Yeah, so both guys probably losing spots in the team, and Mark Gee is a little cheaper. Next question. We have a benching headache. Don't hear about too many benching headaches here. All right. We got start 2 out of Danny Welbeck, Antoine Semenyo, Chris Richards. Okay, not too difficult. Already has triple Arsenal defense, and he's hoping the clean sheet does not get wiped out at Burnley. So basically deciding 2 between Welbeck, Semenyo, and Chris Richards for game week 10 here.
I think I'd play Welbeck and Semenyo, just being the 2 attackers. And when Welbeck is Leeds at home, I don't think you can bench him. And Semenyo is, it's a relatively trickier fixture against City, but I would still back him over a defender simply because of the upside that he has. Triple Arsenal defense is great. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's that seems to be the move right now with what's going on. We're going to get some Arsenal guys back after their national break. Gyökeres really hasn't produced too much, and pretty much every day you see a stat about Bukayo Saka, about how many goals he hasn't scored from open play this season. I feel like that's on my timeline every few hours almost. Yeah, thank you for
listening. You for the question. Yep. Next question, which was to discuss Reinders. Now, Reinders, I think, is a sell. Like I mentioned, dodgy minutes, just better options in that price range. In fact, for my team, you'd be surprised that I got Maintain for Reinders. I feel as if that's quite a different move that I've gone for.
So you're in the Minta crowd. Okay. I can see that. 90s, he's getting some set pieces, and he's been, without Miedema, he's kind of been, I guess, along with Welbeck, one of the Brighton's more important players. I thought going into the season, I thought that was going to be Jorginho Ruder, but he hasn't really
I
panned
had Rutter
out.
as well.
He hasn't really panned out. Ruder opened the season in the number 9, and he's moved around, and he's just not going as many minutes as Welbeck. So I do like Minta here, and he's been solid. And I pulled up our fixture schedule here on the screen. We got home against Leeds, at Crystal Palace, home against Brentford, and then at Nottingham Forest, and then Aston Villa, West Ham. So a bunch of good spots here for Brighton upcoming as well.
Exactly. You just look at him and you just think that he's going to be good for a while. It's like set and forget guy for 6 million. Just seems too good to pass up.
Yeah. Next question, is Saka a must-have? We talked a little bit about Saka there. Is he a must-have? I don't know. And there might be a stretch here, but he already has Gakpo and Mbeumo having Saka fear of missing out, considering his fixture this week. Yeah, a little bit of FOMO here, but is Saka a must in Game Week 10 and going forward?
I wish I knew the answer to this question because it's something I'm trying to figure out from my team myself. At this point in time, let's say if I was wildcarding, I think Saka would be in my 3 Arsenal that I would have selected, simply because he pairs to be safer long term. Gyökeres is fine right now, but eventually I think Havertz might come in or reduce his minutes. But there's also a world where the Gyökeres owners can just downgrade him to a cheaper forward without investing that money in Saka, because Arsenal's fixtures from game week 13 onwards aren't exactly as flashy as they have been in recent times. So I won't say he's essential, but he might become essential. So the best sort of solution is to ensure that you have a route to him in the coming weeks without overly committing to it.
Yeah, I added him a couple weeks ago myself, and it hasn't exactly worked out. But yeah, those fixtures for Arsenal, okay, after Burnley, at Sunderland has been a difficult matchup this season. Home against Tottenham, at Chelsea, at Brentford, at Aston Villa. Sorry, home versus Brentford, at Aston Villa. So it's kind of off on in terms of the matchups for Arsenal. But yeah, like you said, Havertz, Martinelli, Madueke, all those guys, Odegaard expected to come back, after the next international break or near there. So as the matches pile up here, maybe the minutes actually go down for Saka if those guys are healthy. So maybe something to think about as well. All right, here we go.
Next question is from Colin. Play Rodon over Reinders and Paqueta, or sell Paqueta for Minte on Sar, Saka, Semenyo. I don't think I would play Rodon over either, if I'm being honest, because Leeds are playing Brighton away, and I expect Brighton to score. So I just play one of the mids, or if you have the free transfers available, then selling either Reinders or Paqueta for Minte is just a very nice move because of the reasons we've mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it almost seems like the reason to play Rodon would be to, hope for you get the DEFCON and then you're sitting on 4 points, and you like that more than the Rangers pocket kind of thing. I guess that would be the main reason. I assume that's why Colin's asking that.
Exactly.
All right. If you have high TV, I'm not sure what that part means. I don't know, but who would your ideal midfield be on a wild card? Currently on Saka, Semenyo, Mbeumo, Sar, and Minta. Front three, Haaland, Mateta, Thiago. What do you got?
Yeah, so he's saying that if he has high team value, then what would be the ideal midfield to pick on a wild card? I think I think I would go a bit different to the listener. I think I would. If I was picking a front three, I don't think I would pick Thiago. Brentford's fixtures aren't exactly great. I just think I would go 3-5-2. I would go cheap in attack, despite the heavy or the high team value. I think I'd go Thiago to Gio. And then in midfield, I would have Fernandez over Semenyo. I think Semenyo is worth taking on in the next two, even if you're on wildcard, because City away, Villa away, with his ownership, I feel as if that's worth taking on. And then Mbomo is all right, but I feel as if Enzo could also be worth a shout when you look at Chelsea's fixtures. Enzo's going to play 10 this week as well. Wolves, Burnley, next three. So that's probably what I do. Saka, Bruno, Enzo Sar, Minte, Haaland, Mateta, Gio, and go heavy in defense as well.
Heavy in defense. You're not a big Thiago fan. Not a big Thiago fan. Brentford are at Crystal Palace, home against Newcastle, at Brighton, home Burnley, but then it's at Arsenal, at Spurs. So, yeah, it's not too many easy matchups there.
Exactly.
Okay, I've sold Gyökeres too. This goes back to Shazad's earlier question. He asked if Saka was a must-have. Okay, but I can get to Saka from Bruno easily. So it's kind of a move on from Bruno to Saka. So
yeah, I don't approve the Bruno out transfer. You know how I am on Bruno generally. He's someone I just think he's going to be in my team for a while. Has been since game week 1, and it's been to my detriment because he hasn't really done anything of note so far. But I just hope he contributes going forward.
Yeah, we all know you're a big Bruno guy. Maybe we'll get into that later. Okay, it's the price changes. Yeah, we had some price changes overnight. João Pedro, Reinders, and Tarkowski to Mateta, Sarr, and Michael Keane. Okay, that's interesting. Or Mateta and Dewsbury Hall.
I think I like those three transfers. I like them. I think the only sort of debate that you can have making those transfers is whether to go for Enzo or Sarr. It's something I'm contemplating for my team myself. And while Sarr is like extremely popular this week, especially after he scored the brace at Anfield, I still feel as if Enzo and Sarr over the next three is pretty close in terms of what they offer. So yeah, that's a point which is probably worth considering.
What do you think about that Tarkowski to Keane move? It's 5.5 million to 4.5 million. Do you think just sticking with maybe this guy he's a big toffee or something, so he wants an Everton defender no matter what, or would you prefer a different defender that is in that 4.5 range?
I think Keane is fine because presumably I would assume that if he's selling Tarkowski, he needs someone to play the next two fixtures, and Everton have Sunderland this week and then Fulham next week at home. That's a good run to have. So buying Keane right now is fine, especially when he releases 1 million from Tarkowski. I don't mind that transfer at all.
Mm-hmm. Got another defender question here. Hoping to do 3 in the back, working with Calafiori, Pedro Porro, I assume, Virgil van Dijk, Daniel Munoz, and Cucurella as my defense in the squad. Currently has his first 3 set to play.
Yeah, Calafiori, I would definitely play. Pedro Porro has Chelsea, right? I don't think I would play Pedro. I think
Van Dijk home against Villa, Munoz home against.
Yeah, I think I would
Brentford.
go. Yeah. You can't bench Munoz at home to Brentford. You can't bench Calafiori versus Burnley. I think I would play Virgil as well. He's actually, I know Liverpool are like all over the place defensively, but at least he's guaranteed DEFCONs. So he's hit like a abnormally large number of DEFCONs so far. So at least you're going to get like 3 or 4 points out of him. With Pedro and Cucurella, the floor just seems way too low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially, Porro, like he's no guarantee for a ton of sets like he was before Xabi Simons came into the side, which, hurts his value, especially if you're not getting DEFCON and given just how this Thomas Frank team is playing. But yeah, you went Calafiori, Van Dijk, and Munoz, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Always the tricky one with Van Dijk is how many goals they've allowed. But it seems like Gravenberch is going to be ready to play, which obviously is a big boost for that Liverpool midfield that hasn't really been looking too good. So how about we get into a question on, we talked a little bit, but I think we still need some more chatter here on Bruno Fernandes and Brian Mbeumo. because we know you're a big Bruno guy. And Bumo has kind of come up. He's getting goals. He's getting assists. He is on some sets as well. Maybe some more upside for Mbumo, maybe better floor for Bruno Fernandes. So if you pick him between the two, we know you're a Bruno guy, but let's just ignore that part of it of Bruno being in your squad and all that. What is just going forward between those two guys? What do we think is the best move?
Look, I think Mbomo is a good player to own. He's a good asset to have. The fixtures are okay. The reason why I prefer Bruno is basically because I'm boring. Like I like guys who get defensive contribution points. I like guys who are better for bonus points. I like guys who are on penalties. All the threat that Mbomo is carrying is from open play, which is greater than Bruno. But when you look at their expected data, the expected goal involvement, Fernandes is actually faring better, and that's because of the penalties that he can take advantage of. Now, that hasn't really been the case this season, and Mbomo has just started uh, firing on all cylinders. But I won't be surprised if in the next few weeks it's actually Bruno's turn to start hauling big. So that's my take. I'm not saying that Mbomo is a bad pick. I think he'll do all right. Also, another point is that he might also be a transfer out during the AFCON because he will be going as well. So, I mean, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I feel like this isn't like an exact science here with Bruno, but it feels like I've seen him so many times in these games. He's getting shots in the box, but they're just going right at the goalkeeper. He's getting like good opportunities. He's always going to be in play for assists. We know that, but his shots are just like, okay, he's off a little to the side and shoots it right at the goalkeeper. In addition to the PKs, it doesn't mean much, but as you said, maybe those goals and more assists will be coming soon. We can kind of build into this question we're getting because, okay, best Foden replacement, Bruno and Mbumo, or he's bringing his Miles Sarr in here. He's got 2.7 in the bank, so going Foden to Sarr would give him over 4 million.
It's a good question. I think you can keep Foden this week as well. I don't mind that because Foden's going to start. He was rested in the cup. Foden at home to Bournemouth is fine. I feel as if Foden definitely has more attacking threat than Reinders. So while I don't rate Reinders that much for the attacking threat, Foden has a good chance of getting something. So that's the first side of the argument. But if you're selling him, I think out of the three that you mentioned, we've discussed Bruno and Bomo. I prefer Bruno. And obviously, Bruno and Sarr are like at different price points, so it's difficult to compare them. But I feel as if you can afford Bruno, I would just pick him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I was looking at Foden this week myself. He's taken every corner for Manchester City. I mean, you kind of look at that, you compare it to, okay, he's taking more set pieces than because Bruno and Mbumo are splitting. Obviously, Haaland is the headpiece of that attack, but still, at some point, Foden, you got to feel like he's going to make the score sheet. He's going to get a goal or assist at some point. I know Mbumo has been doing that lately, but it wouldn't be surprising if one of these games Foden really does get some. I maybe going forward, I'd be a little more worried for Foden in terms of what his minutes are going to look like because some of those guys are healthy. We did just see Cherokee return, Marmouche is back, so that'd be something to worry about. All right. I think this is a follow-up on a prior question. So I guess there's not really a question.
The Mateta and Sarr move leaves. He's basically asking if we think
different defender, I guess.
Different defender, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if you have 4.7, I think I would still go with Keane. I think he's nice for that price point. Even Anderson is nice, but you already own him. Anderson is expected to be in contention this weekend. So in that price point, I think you're making the best possible decision because Senesi says Villa away. You will probably need a defender next week as well because Anderson has Everton away. So yeah, I'll probably just go with Keane.
Yeah, Tarkowski to Keane. Bench one between Bowen, Enzo Fernandez, and Antoine Semenyo.
I think I would bench Bowen from these, just because how poor West Ham have been all season. And Bowen's not on pens either. They're not creating enough. So he's quite an easy bench out of the three.
Are you a believer of Bournemouth scoring at Manchester City? You think Semenyo can maybe get on the score sheet here?
I mean, I'm biased. I mean, um, if I'm selling some menu in my FPL team, then I would hope he doesn't score, but I would expect them to score, if I'm being
Well,
honest. Yeah.
because
City
you're
will win,
yeah, because you're
but
selling him, he probably will score. We know that's going to
yeah,
happen.
will
So
score. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people who are benching him as well, or at least contemplating benching him. And this is the sort of decision that if you play him, he's going to blank, and if you bench him, he's just going to score. Just one of those horrible 50-50 ones.
yeah, yeah, we're getting. Steve is a big Uncle Phil Foden fan over here. Let's check this out. Other option is to go Granit Xhaka or Josh King to Ismail Assar. But then he won't be able to get a Chelsea defender next week. Maybe a Chelsea fan here looking to bring in a Chelsea defender.
I don't think I'd get a Chelsea defender because none of them, apart from Kukurea, is safe from minutes. James is all right, but now we're entering into that part of the season where owning Reece James is not optimal because his hamstrings, I'm not sure how good they are to deal with the fixture congestion that we have coming up in December. So I feel as if I would just get Sar and forget about the Chelsea defender, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, the center backs unreliable. We saw what they did against Sunderland last week. We don't know who's actually going to be starting every match going forward. It seems like until that gets nailed down. You mentioned Kukurea, so you're off. I think it was after that Nottingham Forest match. He had a goal and assist. Everyone was up on Reece James, so you're not really buying into that too much, Reece James. You're still worried about his hamstrings, and yeah, because at some point it's going to have to be a decision: is he going to play Champions League or is he going to play league play? And that's something Maresca will have to decide.
Exactly, exactly. I just can't be sort of bothered figuring that out every week.
Yeah, you don't want to pay for Reece James and have to decide, well, is he going to start this week? Because if he doesn't, that's not going to be very. I don't want 20 minutes off the bench from my Chelsea defender.
Exactly.
We haven't really talked about Gyökeres at all. Victor Gyökeres has some of the better odds to score this week because they are against Burnley. His numbers really haven't been there in league play. Do you sell if you have Gyökeres? Do you sell Victor Gyökeres?
I don't think you should. I feel as if he's a good hold because I mentioned that Saka might be transferring in the weeks to come. That's not confirmed yet. But when you're playing against the worst defense in the league for XG considered, you're bound to get opportunities as a striker. I know Arsenal don't create much from open play, but Burnley are just trash. And if I'm playing as a striker against that sort of defense, even I'm going to get an opportunity or two to score. So I just think that you have to put yourself in a position to get lucky if you own Gyökeres. If he comes off, I'm sure he'll do well.
So what kind of striker are you, Bakar? Are you like a typical number 9? Are you a João Pedro type?
No, I don't have the skills to be as silky and smooth as João Pedro. I'm more of a bully, the old school kind of guy
Diego
who's playing as the
Costa.
number 9. Yeah, kind of that,
Okay.
like target man, playing as a center forward, trying to link up play, bullying the defenders. But yeah, I mean that's just the kind of physique I have.
Bakar the bully. All right, now we know. Now we know. Another guy we haven't really talked about, Mo Salah, formerly coming off the best FPL season ever. Mo Salah here. I dropped him a long time ago. A lot of people dropped him in the past 9 game weeks. Just that really hasn't been the same, but he is still scoring at times. He did score last week. Liverpool are home against Aston Villa. What's the move here with Salah? If you have him right now, do you keep him or you sell him?
I think this is very team dependent. I think, I'm a Salah non-owner, you're a Salah non-owner. None of us are looking to bring him in anytime soon because Liverpool just don't look good. And even though Salah has scored, he scored in the previous week and he's done all right, but it's just that he's not justifying that price value. I mean, if you're not paying for one attacking return per game for that sort of striker or midfielder who's like 40 million in the game. You just basically want explosive hauls pretty much week in, week out. He's not offering that at the moment. So I feel as if you're looking to spend funds across the rest of the squad, selling Salah is perfectly fine. If your squad is in decent shape and you don't need to make a transfer, then even keeping is fine. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here.
Yeah, it hasn't been a great season for Salah. It seems like every match he just carries one ball way over the net that he's left shaking his head a little bit. We got a couple more questions before we take off. He was looking at this one was they were looking at Chelsea defender because they got Wolves, Burnley, Arsenal, and Leeds as the next four. But we kind of went over some of that. I mean, if you really want Cucurella, maybe. If you're a big Chelsea person, I guess maybe you go Cucurella. If you want a Chelsea defender, that's probably your take, right? Cucurella or none of them.
My counter argument would be that when Arsenal have such a good run of fixtures, Crystal Palace has such a good run of fixtures, why do you need to get a Chelsea defender in? Because I mean those defenses will cover you well enough.
Can't really argue with that one.
Especially when Cucurella is like expensive. He's not 4.5 or 5. He's quite expensive.
He's not Michael
He's 6
Keane
million-ish.
price. Yeah.
Exactly.
Would you start Alderete, Senesi, or Gudmundsson this week? Currently have Alderete and Senesi as the first sub in case he doesn't play.
I think I would do the same. Yeah, I would have Alderete starting. Best fixture out of the three.
Yeah, Alderete coming back from his concussion. So I wouldn't say he's 100% guaranteed to start here. Something to keep in mind there. But Gudmundsson, I know everyone's upset about Gudmundsson getting subbed off early in that last Leeds match. All right, one more question here. In a few transfers time, my 12 will be Pope. All right, we got a long one here. Pope, Gabriel, Timber, Senesi, Munoz, Semenyo, Saka, Bruno, Sarr, Minta, Mateta, Holland. We got the full squad here. Is there any better player I should have?
It's a good question, and it's basically it's actually good thinking because it's forward planning, and he's actually thinking that my squad is going to look like this in Game Week 12. Should I plan for something else? I feel as if I was planning in Game Week 12, my team would look quite similar in terms of what my 11 would be. I might not have Pope, I think, but even that is fine because the fixtures is still fine for Newcastle, and the rest is just like really good. Like Enzo is maybe someone I would consider, but even Enzo's appeal lies more in 10, 11, 12 rather than the weeks after. So I feel as if this team for 12 is bang on perfect.
Bang on perfect. There we go. All right. I think that's about it. We got the last one here. Bakar is the bruiser striker. Adam, what is your comp? My comp. I'll go, similar, not a striker. I'll go midfielder here. I'm more like the Granit Xhaka here. More of a bruiser midfielder. Just commanding the middle. And somewhat of a bruiser, not the most skilled of players, but I'll run around. I think what Xhaka and Sadiki have run the most in the Premier League. I think that's the stat I saw this week. Those two in the Sunderland midfield have run more than anyone else in the Premier League. That is probably me. Or at least it was me. Me no longer. I just had ACL surgery. That is no longer me. But Bakar, do you have any other comments here before we take off ahead of Game Week 10?
No, I think we're good to go. It was a very nice stream. Very nice time chatting with you, Adam. Thanks for taking the time out to do this.
Thanks a lot, Bakar. Game Week 10, good luck to everyone. Remember, check out rotowire.com/soccer. Get all your content needs. We got this easy cheat sheet up here, but YouTube15 for a code for 15% off at the site. And also, please watching, like, subscribe. We'll try and get more of these out to you in the future, and hopefully everyone enjoyed this. We'll see everyone. Got Game Week 11, and that's another international break. So thank you, Bakar, and enjoy your Halloween.